Okay.
Nanotechnology is the way of the future.
A way of wirelessly transmitting information into the human body using organic electronic components. You can put the patches on the human body, you can see an effect.
Soccer player David Beckham is arguably the most recognized athlete in the world, and even he's wearing the patches. The world's windsurfing champion clearly wearing the patches on his knees. Sean May wearing the patches when he was the MVP for the NCAA champions. Here's a national champion weightlifter using the patches. Esquire magazine ranked them as Performance Enhancer of the Month. ESPN, the magazine, did an article on the LifeWave phenomenon.
You know, last night we showed you that even Pop wasn't quite sure just what those bandages are on Tim Duncan's chest, but our viewers knew the answer. They're called LifeWave Energy Patches, a revolutionary new medical discovery.
It's so new, so great, so wonderful. How do you measure it? There is an immediate autonomic nervous system response within 5 minutes. And that is powerful scientific information to offer.
I've been doing this kind of testing now for almost 8 years, and I can tell you, you don't see these kind of results in 1 or 2 weeks.
There are a lot of products out there, folks, but there are very few companies who support their products with quality science.
We tested the LifeWave product and we found that it made a significant change within 10 seconds in the cytoskeleton. And let me tell you, that is profound.
So this is not so much a stimulant, okay, as more of a way to balance the body and bring the body back into harmony.
That which seems extraordinary today will be commonplace in the future.
When I got them, I tested them. I took it for what they said on the phone call to me that they would work, and I absolutely tried them out, and they did.
This is a new technology to provide people with energy, well-being, improved sleep, improved skin quality, relief of pain, relief of discomfort, and you just can't stop the truth.
Okay, so that was exciting. So
John, I saw there at one point it called itself a Class 1 medical device. Have they actually gotten FDA approval for this patch?
All of the patches have FDA approval. All of them do.
As devices?
Yes. Wireless technology is what they call it.
Then why can't we make medical claims if they're FDA approved?
Well, it's just that it's not. It's just that it can't. It's treat, prevent, cure disease. So as soon as you put the word disease in there, they're not going to approve that. No, because it's not that. It's a general wellness patch. So
it's what they're approved for.
Well, as that is something that can improve, basically improve vitality, energy, those kinds of things. And that's what I'm going to get into today. It's going to be really exciting. Okay, so
but we don't need to say they're not FDA approved because they are then.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the screen and bring this up. Okay, and if you guys could mute yourselves, that would be great. Okay, so here's the first slide. Okay, so so we're talking about energy today. So these are some ways, of course, we know how to get energy into the body with some basic things like going for a walk. So in experiments conducted by Robert Thayer, PhD at California State University, a brisk 10-minute walk not only increased energy, but the effects lasted up to 2 hours. And when the daily 10-minute walks continued for 3 weeks, overall energy levels and mood were lifted. So that's a good thing. Another thing is to take a power nap. I don't do many of these, but actually after reading this research, I may start. Research has shown that both information overload and pushing our brains too hard can zap our energy. But studies by the National Institutes of Mental Health found that a 60-minute power nap can not only reverse the mind-numbing effects of information overload, it may also help us to better retain what we have learned. Reducing stress. Stress from anxiety can leave you mentally and physically exhausted. I've known that one very much lately. even if you've spent a day in bed. More commonly, he says, low but chronic levels of stress erode energy levels. So over time, you find yourself doing less and feeling more. Here's a couple more. So drink more water. This I do pretty well now because I'm using these patches. It's easy to confuse signals of hunger with thirst. We think we need food when we really need water. Thirst can also masquerade as fatigue. So when I do forget to drink water during the day, it's exactly what I feel, is that fatigue is coming on. So eat more whole grains and less sugar. When you're eating a sweet food, you get a spike in blood sugar, which gives you an initial burst of energy. That's followed by a rapid drop in blood sugar, which in turn can leave you feeling very wiped out. It's the sugar spike. We've all done that, and it picks us up for a while, and then the pendulum swings back the other way, and then we're more tired. So a couple other things that are important if you're doing healthy things like these 6 points, and you're still feeling a big lack of energy, you should check your thyroid function and complete blood cell count. Okay, so it certainly won't provide an instant boost doing this, but if you're constantly low on energy, especially if you feel sluggish even after a good night's rest, you should talk to your doctor about a blood test for thyroid dysfunction as well as anemia. Okay, and you should check to see if you have mineral deficiency. So some essential minerals include magnesium as magnesium aspartate, selenium, chromium, and copper. And some important enzymes include bromelain, that comes from pineapples, papain from papaya, and other citrus bioflavonoids. So those will actually help to keep energy in your body. Okay, so all the cells in the body need chemical energy. So the chemical energy used for most cell processes is carried by ATP. Molecules in foods store chemical energy in the bonds. So you see these little hexagons here and these little things here. This is kind of what a starch molecule looks like. And inside this hexagon, this is what the glucose molecule looks like. Okay. So organisms break down carbon-based molecules to produce ATP. Carbohydrates are the molecules most commonly broken down to make ATP, not stored in large amounts, and up to 36 ATP from one glucose molecule. So basically, you see these, this over here, these are phosphates. This is a triphosphate with the ATP, and then there's a diphosphate, and that has just 2 phosphates. So this kind of chemical interaction is going on, of course, in our bodies all the time, in our cells. There's actually a cycle of this going on, which looks like this. So ATP transfers energy from the breakdown of food molecules to cell functions. Energy is released when a phosphate group is removed. ADP is changed into ATP when a phosphate group is added. Okay, so as you can see in this here, going this way, clockwise, so here's the ATP, and when a phosphate is removed, that releases energy for cell functions. And then as it turns into ADP and starts going the other way, then a phosphate is added, and energy from breakdown of molecules cause it to store energy. So energy is stored when a phosphate is added, and energy is released when a phosphate is removed. Okay, fats store most of the energy. So 80% of the energy in, your body, and about 146, this is an important number, 146 ATP from a triglyceride. Okay, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about ATP later and why this number kind of comes into play. And proteins are least likely to be broken down to make ATP. Amino acids, which are basically building blocks for proteins, are not needed much for energy. About the same amount of energy as a carbohydrate. So if you look at this little chart here, carbohydrates and proteins, they produce about 4 calories per milligram. whereas lipids or fats are twice that, 9 calories per milligram. So this one over here, I remember this one from my biology class, barely. But yes, cell energy, photosynthesis, and respiration. Energy for living things comes from food. Originally, the energy in food comes from the sun. And this is really how important it is for living things, including us, to get sun. So this is the thing that we see up here on the surface of the planet. But as we can see in this over here to the right, a few types of organisms do not need sunlight and photosynthesis as a source of energy. Some organisms live in places that never get sunlight. So this is called chemosynthesis, and chemical energy is used to build carbon-based molecules. And then this is similar to photosynthesis, but it relies on this chemical thing to happen. So it uses chemical energy instead of light energy. So this is a kind of a picture of a volcano at the bottom of the ocean, and basically it's just pushing out a lot of dust and smoke and things like that. And actually the creatures that live down there can convert that into a carbon-based molecule, and they can live. So that's how they're able to do it without sunlight. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the Energy Enhancer patch. Okay, we saw that all these athletes are using it, and my feeling is that you don't have to be an athlete or a dancer. Really, anybody should who feels like they need more energy, which a lot of people do, should use this patch. So what David Schmidt was quoted as saying is, what we have found through our research is that when Energy Enhancer patches are applied to the average adult, we are all different, but we're just talking about the average adult, and they did this with this study with average adults that didn't have any preconditions or illnesses or anything like that, is that the ATP in the mitochondria is increased by 30% after just 1 hour. Okay, think of a battery getting a voltage boost by 30%, and that's quite incredible. So I'll just read a little bit about from this clinical study. There's also a link down here that you can find, and it'll go into it in many more pages, but I just pulled out the basic things. So results of this study demonstrate that LifeWave Energy Enhancer patches produce a significant increase in performance for all but one of the tests of flexibility, strength, and endurance that were conducted. Although the absolute changes seem small for some of these tests, such as the weight strength tests, lat pull downs, for example, they are large changes when one takes into account the importance of lifting a weight that is only a few pounds heavier. The same conclusion is true for the stretch and reach test, using distance as the endpoint rather than the weight lifted. Furthermore, the increases observed with the active patch had a high level of significance, demonstrating the efficacy of the active patches in the tests. Factors that can influence the outcome were analyzed and found to have no effects on the outcomes. All of the subjects were properly randomized, as shown by the lack of difference between baseline measures between the active and placebo groups. Additionally, there was no learning effect that can occur as a result of repeating a test regardless of the length of the washout period. Okay, so these are, as we saw in the video, there's a few more here. Michael Phelps, eight gold medals at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, was wearing the patches. And David Beckham, back in 2005, threw his shirt off, and lo and behold, those patches were visible. And actually, the doping committee needed to find out what they were, and found out, of course, that they're non-transdermal. There's no chemicals or anything that go into the body, and so they're approved. And then we have this young lady over here who won an international marathon. Okay, so athletes for every sport imaginable have tried the LifeWave patches to gain an edge on their competition. This is something that, they've been around for a long time, but we see today that still a lot of people have never heard of them. So That's good for us. Okay, so there's a patching protocol, but there's different ones that I've tried. Philip has tried different ones as well. We kind of experimented with a number of them, but this is probably the most common, you know, right here. Lung 1 is acupuncture point located about 1 inch below the collarbone along the inside of the shoulder. And then there's the pericardium 6. It's located about 3 to 4 finger widths from the crease of the palm side, in the palm side of the wrist. And then there's the stomach 36, located in the depression, 4 finger widths below the kneecap and 1 finger width outside of the bone. Kidney 3, located at the depression on the inside of the ankle, just behind the ankle bone. And the triple burner 5, located in the middle of the back of the wrist, about 2 finger widths above the wrist crease. So basically, though, as you can see in this one, there's 2 patches, the tan patch and the white patch. Usually what they recommend is that the tan patch goes on the left side and the white patch goes on the right side for best effects. But I've actually experienced little variations on that myself that worked. Okay, so I'm getting down to the last little part of my I'm going to talk about an athlete here and also an author. So I think we've all heard of Usain Bolt. He's the most decorated track and field star in history. And there's an interesting story that I heard at this convention in Las Vegas back in January of this year, where Phil M. Jones was giving this talk, and he mentioned this experience that he had with Usain Bolt. And so Phil he's what he calls himself as a student of success. So if he sees someone who's very successful, if he has an opportunity, he wants to find out why that person is so successful. So instead of saying wow, he says how. So he went up to Usain Bolt in an event. He wasn't racing that day, and asked him, "Mr. Bolt, I got a question for you." And Mr. Bolt was pretty nice and said, "Yeah, okay, go ahead." And he says, "Well, I just have this question. When you're down at the starting blocks and you're just before the race, just before the gun goes off, I'd like to know what's going on through your head. What are you thinking at that moment?" And so Usain, he paused for a little moment, seemed a little bit curious about that question. And he says, "Okay, well, I'll tell you. Well, first thing I do is I look right, and then I look left. And then I say to myself, I wonder why these other guys even bothered to show up." Okay, so Phil was a little surprised at that remark. He says, "This is a very confident athlete." So he had another question, which is a more important question. And what he asked him was, "Mr. Bolt, it seems like when you're running the 100-yard dash, the last 1/3 of the race, it just seems like you're not even trying." And his answer was, "Well, every time before I run the 100-yard dash, I say in my mind that I'm going to run the best 110-yard dash of my life." And so what he's done there is he's run a different kind of race, okay? So that's why I titled this, "The Best of the Best Run a Different Kind of Race." And he basically, decided to move the finish line, and thinking that in his mind, the mindset was to run a 110-meter race, not a 100-meter race, and that's what really separated him from these other world-class runners. Okay, so that is the end of my PowerPoint. So I'm going to do that, and you guys can unmute. Oh, bless you. Okay, so you guys can unmute yourselves if you like. So I went through that pretty quickly because I don't like to kind of go on and on and on and on, but I wanted to cover those main points about energy and a little introduction to the energy patches. I've been using Energy Enhancer almost for, let's see, 8 months. I started with X39 and LifeWave, and then I started using the Energy Enhancer. And where I put the Energy Enhancer, and I think Philip does, I learned it from Philip actually, is I put them on the bottom of my feet, the tan one on the left and the white one on the right. And when I started to do that, I mean, my whole day would just go so much easier. I would just feel energy all day long, and I wouldn't be tired like I usually would get. And that's one of the reasons I really wish that I would have found it a little bit earlier, but you know, better late than never. And at 62, I need energy to do lots of things. My wife had me out in the garden helping her today, mowing the lawn and pulling weeds, and so I usually don't like that job very much, but you know, I wasn't getting tired, so that was a good thing. So I thought I'd start with Emily today. Emily, could you share a little bit your experience as a little bit as a dancer and maybe a little experience with phototherapy?
Sure. The only patch I have tried is the LifeWave, but that one has been very helpful considering being a dancer, you have, you know, it's a high physical activity. And I honestly wish that I knew about this, you know, when I was dancing every single day and rehearsing every Saturday for hours on end.
Right.
So, but with LifeWave, I wanted to try it on an injury that I had back in high school. I was, I think, either 16 or 17. And John, you actually might remember this.
Yeah.
I tore my, well, I didn't tear it. I overstretched my patella tendon, the tendon underneath my kneecap. And I wasn't able to dance anymore. My therapist suggested that I stop dancing completely, and that lasted for about 9 months. And that was really rough. And it's a lot better now, but I still experience some pain if I go hiking for a while, or if I do any really heavy activity like basketball or something like that, running around. I still get some pain in my leg and my knee. So John suggested I try LifeWave. I was like, sure, what is this? Never heard of it before. And he explained it to me, and I thought it was kind of weird and wasn't gonna work. But I tried it, and I experienced something remarkable, basically. Where I put it was, here, let me stand up for a second. I decided to put it like right along here, right where I experienced most pain. The white one there's right here, and then the tan one was right down there. Anyway, and within, I want to say 10-15 minutes, I experienced a huge difference. I was able to bend my knee more, actually. That was a new experience, so I was very thankful for that. And I was actually able to, you know, go about my day without having to rub my knee or ice it. It was really amazing. And I actually ran out of my second sleeve, so I want to order another one. Anyway, it was a real change, and I'm glad John introduced me to it. Now I want to try even more patches.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Join the club.
Okay, Philip, you're also from a more of a knee LifeWave knee experience, but you've also been using the Energy Enhancer a lot, right?
There she blows.
There she blows.
And I actually going to do something a little different today, which is that I'm going to tell you a little bit of story about myself while I patch myself. So first of all, I've been trying LifeWave, which for those of you who are new to this, LifeWave has patches that go a positive and a negative, which are the tan patches, and you put them around and they work in tandem together. They act like a positive and negative using the same system that acupuncture and acupressure use. Today, as before I tell you a story, I'm going to be putting an energy enhancer, which runs the same way LifeWave does, on my ankle. Instead of underneath today, I'm going to be putting them on my ankle here, that one there, and then a white one there. And then I'm going to do an experiment because, as I told some of you in the past, I'm into playing with this. So I read a lot about the meridians and whatnot, but I've heard some success stories with using X39 for pain too. So I'm going to put X39 right here on the top of my arch, right where the cuboid is and the navicular meets the lateral malleoli. But as I say that, let me tell you a little quick story. Back in the day, 1979 was a bad year for me. Jimmy Carter was out, Ronald Reagan was coming in. We didn't know it, but that's what was happening. Shah of Iran had been deposed. It wasn't a very good year. We had hostages being taken from the United States. And I had a series of injuries. That summer, I injured my right knee and I went down. But it was only during class. I came back and I danced half the season and then I had to have surgery on it. I came back and we were doing a ballet in Frostburg, Maryland at Frostburg State University. That university had what do they call that? The military place where they have the ROTC, and they had a stage in there where they used to drive tanks up and they would discuss how the tanks were built. And the stage was covered with metal because it would do that. That's what we were dancing on with our dance floor on top of it. We got there a half an hour late thanks to our ballet master who screwed up on the schedule. And I broke my ankle on stage and finished the ballet. Lifts, turns, jumps, you name it. That's just what happened. So I wound up that year with a permanently damaged but healing right knee and left ankle. So I got I had my ankle in a cast. By 1987, I was dancing for Cincinnati Ballet, and the knee was not operating correctly at all. So I went and the foot wasn't, excuse me, the left foot. I had already had a surgery on the knee. And so there I was in 1987, and I went and I got surgery on my foot. What they told me is there's a lot of scar tissue in there that was developing from the break and the snap ligaments and everything that I had. And see, there they are. I don't know if you can see well, but I've got patches on there. But anyway, so then by the time we got to, I got to retirement age. I'm past the age of 40. I made it to 46 doing a few things, a lot of contemporary roles. Had to dance some leads in my own ballets. Did my last Nutcracker on my 40th birthday. February 2nd. That's how late that Christmas went. And here we go with my experiment, the X39 on top of my foot right there. I'm going to see what happens. At any rate, left me a mess. So I danced until I was fine, and I could do things. And when I was in Colorado and teaching Colorado State, and I was teaching at Naropa, and had my own ballet company, which was a long story short about that one. But love to go hiking up at 15,000 feet. I acclimated very well to high altitude very quickly for a guy from Miami, which is at sea level. But my ankle and knee were just not operating properly. So fast forward, I was in Seattle for many years where I met John. We discovered that we had danced in a lot of the same places, Milwaukee Ballet, ships passing in the night, as you say. And I wound up coming back here after the dot-com crisis and some failed relationships that we won't go into. Met my wife and continued on here. And John and I stayed in contact. Well, I haven't talked to John in a long while, and I was sitting in this exact chair I'm sitting in right now at about 9 o'clock at night, reading my Kindle, and I get a call from John, and John, we start talking, and John and I have been in another business together, another network marketing business, which was New Skin, and good company, but really I wasn't doing it, and it wasn't really doing much for me. I love their vitamins, I love their product. But nevertheless, at any rate, we hadn't talked, and John says, hey, look, I want to talk to you about this thing. And John may remember the conversation better than I do, but he mentioned the idea of energy medicine and phototherapy. And I said, oh, electromagnetic frequency, I can't remember what it is. I always forget what PEMF stands for. Do you remember, Nancy?
PEMS?
Yeah, MF. Anyway,
yeah. No, I know.
Pulse electromagnetic. Anyway,
frequency.
No, something frequency. At any rate, all of this is the same kind of technology. But here's the deal. John was telling me about these patches. I was like, so where do you put the electrode on them? Is it like a TENS unit or a 6 lead that we use in EMT? And my wife and I work at EMTs at the fire station. I'm not, she is. And so it's no, it looks like those pads, but it's not. So I'm not going to go into all the details about what the patches are. And John has just done that in a synopsis earlier. So, but what I found so interesting is that this does this. I said, well, John, I'm interested in trying anything. I got a bad knee and a bad ankle. So I signed up and I ordered some LifeWave and I ordered my X39, which at the time I didn't have a lot of money, but I did. And I put them on and it really didn't do a whole lot yet. But I'm not a quitter. So if I spend that much money on these, I'm going to keep trying them and putting them places. The LifeWave, I finally found the perfect place on my knee. I have jeans on, but I put the LifeWave there and there, and I put an ion patch right on top. I don't know why it works, but it does. Like I said, I like to play with things. So I finally found by playing with it that it works well there, and it also works well to put an ion patch there. I'm also going to try putting an X39 patch there because I have about 10 unopened packages of X39. I buy them so much. I don't want to run out. At any rate, and so I'm not like most people. I don't go, okay, follow the rules, do it this way, and you're going to have a much better thing. But I have learned to use these patches. And seeing as I need a knee replacement now, that's the long story short of the bad knee. And I need to have surgery on my left ankle, which is long story short of breaking my ankle on stage, just to get rid of get the thing moving again. It's partially numb. I've been trying to find this and see if the patches will stop the numbness. It hasn't yet. We'll see what happens. Again, so this technology isn't about putting something into you. It's about taking something that's already in you and reflecting it back inside of you in an organized pattern, which with the ADP and the mitochondria helps tells your brain to do something. And that's a very simplistic explanation. I would leave it to someone who's more a scientist like Nancy or some other people, the doctor like Linda Goggins. But nevertheless, these are, I would like to say, they're a mirror to your soul, and it should sends it back in. But what it does is it takes your own energy and tells your body to heal itself. And what can be better than that? Making the patch benign. It's not like taking a supplement. We don't need FDA approval for a supplement or anything we're putting in our body. We're not. It's a machine. It's the oddest machine I have ever seen in my life, and that's why it's cutting edge. I can imagine in the future what these patches will be like. Right now, they do things to help you with what they are. But prevention in the future, I can imagine that the patches will come. This is my own projection, and they're not saying they're doing this. This is that the patches one day will be able to use to monitor things. The idea of using biological ingredients turned into nanoparticles, basically being some types of sugars and amino acids, to make this happen, other than chemicals, is amazing to me. There are chemicals still wouldn't be going in your body, but the idea is they're using it to reflect. I've been running by scenarios by myself of how they work. Of course, how they work is very proprietary. So my story is that I'm using them to help my body help itself. And if we're not working to help ourselves, then we're not working to make our lives better. And that's why I'm using the patches.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. That's great. Okay. Yeah, Nancy. Nancy, why don't you share a little bit too?
Oh, well.
Or Leonard. Leonard's. Is Leonard in energy? And is he using that sometimes?
He is, yeah. He's so I'm using the energy on his feet, following Philip's pointing out exactly where the sites are there. And it's really been quite amazing, because before I started, his feet were like very different colors, and they didn't look all that well. I mean, I haven't really looked at his feet, but now I'm very familiar with them after patching him, and for I don't know how long it's been, a few weeks. But very quickly, it was like they drew a lot of blood to the feet. They turned purple, and they looked they very quickly, within a period of a week, they became to look alike instead of looking like very different operations. But they looked like they were very getting a lot of blood, and you could see almost little veins at the top, like it was either new little veins or anyway, I had the impression the blood access was very good. So they now look kind of a nice, more normal pink, and they look great. And of course, with Leonard, what we're trying to do is get the energy up the body. So I mean, we're doing different things to work from the top down, but mostly I've been using the energy on his feet to work from the bottom up, so that at least he's grounded as we do these other things. And I think it's helped a lot with that. I've been, and I was talking to Sonny about this. I was thinking, I don't know if I can get him to do this, but I remembered the report about the woman with the bad vision that tried the energy patches. She had some of those night or kind of eye covers that you wear in an airplane. That's what I'm thinking of. And she put the energy patches on her eyes, and this horrible vision got completely healed so that she can see very well now. And so since Leonard's problem with the artery in his brain is connected to the right eye, because that's how it got revealed that he had a problem, was, we thought it was a vision problem. When he got double vision, at any rate, I'm thinking that the eyes may be be a way to get access into this part of the brain that's damaged, and that so I'm dying to get him. I'm not brave enough to actually have discussed it with him yet, but I'm dying to put put the patches on the thing and have him sleep with them. So what I'm thinking about doing is trying it myself, just to demonstrate that it's not harmful, and then proceed with that. But I think that we know that nerve from the eye goes right to that part of the brain that's damaged, and something's got to work to turn that to make that part of his brain heal. I've seen too much healing in my life to think that you know, well, I mean, you're in control. He has to play his part. I mean, you have a lot of control over you can't make somebody else heal, but one can provide opportunities. And
right.
So I'm excited. So next time you think about the energy patches, ask me if I've had the nerve to get that done yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Or whether he said yes or no.
Maybe Sunny can do that, Nancy.
What?
Maybe Sunny, you could ask Sunny.
No, I went through this all with her, and we had an appointment with her, and she never mentioned it. I was so disappointed. Because I thought, well, you know, if it comes from her, you know, he'll take it.
Was it recently?
Yes, like last week.
Well, that's probably because, you know, she's moving and.
Yeah, no, I know she's got a lot.
I don't mean to make excuses. I didn't mean to. Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
we had a regularly scheduled doctor's appointment. You had to make an appointment. It took, you know, a week to get on her schedule. And anyway, I was very disappointed because she told me she thought it was a great idea when I told her, you know, what I thought. And so I got the feedback I wanted, but I didn't get the social help.
Right. What about one of these guys? Would John and Phil be able to convince him, or John because Phil's?
Who was it that heard that story? Was it a personal or just somebody read about it? Do you remember that story about the woman with the bad vision?
Yeah, that was
I do.
Yeah, that was Karen Kahn's patient.
Karen.
Oh, okay. So yeah, if I get Leonard on here sometime, then one of you that knows, you know, saw the video, heard the patient, could tell the story. But maybe you just got me enthused again. So maybe I'll try the patches tonight and see what happens.
You could probably find.
I'm going to try putting them on my readers. You know, at night, I tend to read myself asleep, and I'll just be reading. And then before I fall asleep, I'll stick 2 patches over the eye and fall.
You've done that?
Yeah.
You have done that?
I fall asleep all the time while
No,
I'm
with
reading.
the patches.
No, I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Okay.
He's going to try it tonight.
They're ready to go. My
Okay,
wife's
we
going to
can
look over me
compare
and go,
notes
"What the
next
heck
time
are
we
you
have
doing?"
a meeting with John.
My wife's going to look at me and go, "What are you doing?"
I've got those little things you wear in airplanes, you know, so
Yeah.
you know where they are.
I don't wear this.
Then you can compare notes, though.
Yeah, we can compare notes. And then there'll be 2 of us that's tried it, and we can gang up on Leonard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I might try it.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Nan. Go ahead, Rebecca.
No, I said I might try it too. I'm sorry I joined late. I see. Is your husband on? Is that?
No, that's my brother. That's here.
Oh, that's your brother. That's great. And Emily? And Emily, are you, where are you, Emily?
I'm in Washington, about 5 hours away from John.
She is one of John's dancers.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Emily, where do you live?
I live in Kennewick, one of the Tri-Cities. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know where that is. Wow. Well, it's good. Have you been dancing, or have you tried the patches, or?
I have tried one of the patches, LifeWave. I'm not currently dancing now, obviously because of the pandemic, but I mean, I try to do little things at home.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I've been with John for about 13 years, I think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's had some major.
Don't age him. Don't age him.
And Teddy would talk to us, but every time he unmutes his microphone, there's a lot of static on the air. So I don't know if he'll take his mute off and try again or not. But
oh, your brother?
Yeah, we need to work on his technology.
Where is he?
He's in Las Vegas.
Oh, there he is.
So he met John and Sunny when they were down there.
Oh, great. Maybe I'll unmute myself so he can hear it better.
Yeah, he's got too many spot machines going at one time.
No, he didn't.
Okay, so thanks everybody. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I you know, like Philip was saying, I wish, you know, we've had such hard physical careers as dancers, and we're known to just kind of deal with pain. We're almost just taught to ignore pain, which is not a good thing, really. And I think things are changing now, even in ballet schools and companies. There's more of an emphasis on injury prevention and things like that. But certainly, you know, like athletes, like the athletes we were talking about earlier, energy is so important to get that energy into our body, not just to have energy, but to stay healthy. And when our energy levels are really low, then Energy Enhancer it's the name of the game right there, is to put something that's not drugs, it's not a stimulant, it's not a energy drink. All these things, you think of all the things people try, and most of them are really bad for you. They're really not. They're only giving you they're just giving you a
sugar or adrenaline
high, yeah. And it doesn't address the real cause. You know, pendulum is going to swing back the other way, and you're going to feel, you know, worse than before you did it. So
I haven't tried the energy enhancers yet.
Oh, you have to. Put them on you can try them here, like Boris, David Beckham, right here. Okay.
Here?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Emily. I can see her.
Oh yeah.
So right here.
Under the collarbone. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's the collarbone, and then like right around there.
Okay.
And then I just started putting them there, and I felt it right away. But then I put them on the bottom of my feet that Philip recommended, and I not only had energy throughout the day, I did not get tired. And I think,
really,
you know, acupuncturists talk a lot about the points in the feet that are really important meridians in the body. So I'm kind of sold on the bottom of the feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that, because I've had a lot of acupuncture and acupressure, and but I'm learning. You know, I have 2 friends, relatives that are recovering from surgery, and I'm still puzzled where to put the patches. But my nephew, who's probably about Emily's age, he's recovering from heart surgery, and I'm wondering about the energy too. You know, he can't. Yeah, you have an idea, Nancy?
No, but you're just talking about heart surgery, and Teddy, my brother Carr, just said he put a patch on his heart yesterday because he felt something in his heart, and I don't know, maybe if he decides to unpatch, he'd tell us more about that. I just went, whoa. He was talking about X39. I think maybe he was talking about AceWave. I don't know, but he said he felt something in his heart, so he stuck a patch on it.
Wow. So this right here, I guess, is also a pressure point, right?
Right in the sternum, right.
Right, okay, because that's where I put my friends who had surgery down here. He's, you know, was a hernia, but I can say that when he's not here, but
yeah, one of the things you can do with X39, and this has been radical, and this is something that John will tell you the name of the guy who's the AccuLife guy, was in such a bad accident he wasn't expected to live, and David, our founder, just took a series of X39 patches and put it all across where his scars were and all across where the injuries were. I mean, he took an entire packet every day and put it on him. And the guy's out there doing it.
Yeah, he lived.
He lived, and he is a major LifeWave distributor. Yeah. What's his name, John?
Chance, John Chance.
John Chance, yeah. He's a good old boy from Texas. He got a place in Texas. He got a place in Georgia. You should come up here to Virginia. I got lots of horse people up.
Yeah, and he also said that he'd be glad to, if we have a prospect that has horses and is interested in AccuLife, we can jump on the Zoom with him, and he's the expert.
Oh, I've seen several of his videos.
Yeah,
and I'm going back to Texas. I'm going back to Texas, folks. I'm going back. I have to go see my family. So I'm leaving in a couple weeks.
Oh,
are you really? Yeah.
Yeah. I have to get a ticket.
How are you traveling?
I have to fly because my car is there. I came here just for a couple weeks at the beginning of March, and I've stayed. So